Welcome to the second one of the series of Weggie stories that were contributed to me in the hopes of making a Weggie anthology, which will be now a YouTube Weggie anthology. So my second one that I'm going to read is from Geoff. Geoff is the most positive person you will ever meet. He is so insanely cool, and I love him to bits. Him and I have a similar mindset. I am pathologically Pollyanna, and he's the male version of pathologically Pollyanna, which I say with the utmost of admiration. Geoff actually came to visit me in my home here. I promised him wildlife because I live in a national park, and we didn't see a single thing. Not even a squirrel. I felt so bad. And then the day after he left, we had a giant elk come into our yard, walking around all majestic and stuff right in front of my window. But Geoff didn't get to see it because he just went home the day before. Anyways, actually, while I'm on this, it's interesting because as horrible as Wegener's is to be living in the moment, in my personal life, it has brought me so much beautiful goodness that would never have happened had I not gotten sick. So, yeah, I made friends throughout the globe that are these amazing people that I would never have had a reason to meet them had I not gotten sick. There's so many other things that came out of the disease, but that's one of the actual blessings of the disease, and I am so grateful for it. There's no words. And Geoff, even though we don't communicate, I'm off all social media completely. So it's kind of awkward when I want to communicate with people, but I refuse to go on social media. But I know that Geoff is going to be a buddy for life, and I'm unbelievably grateful for that. Without further ado, Geoff's story. And you can tell what kind of person Geoff is by how he starts it. Geoff's story. Glad to be diagnosed. It's a fact of life. We all fall ill at some time or other, irrespective of age or other personal circumstances. Some of us endeavor to keep fit and compete with old Father Time as our bodies come under increasing pressure of living in today's madcap world. When we do fail ill, we either self-diagnose and take a familiar effective remedy or call on our local doctor to sort us out with perhaps stronger medicine. What we do struggle to come to terms with is when we find ourselves feeling gradually worse day by day and yet unable to find remedy or even cause. Such was the situation I found myself in at Christmas time of 2007. Symptoms. What began feeling like flu developed into a variety of symptoms that confused me. Initially, I felt shivery and cold. I would huddle over the fire trying to get warm. I experienced headaches and painful joints throughout my body, especially my arms and across my shoulders and neck. I suffered with night sweats, swollen glands in my neck, which restricted my ability to turn my head and even eat. Next followed an infection of the inner ear, which caused vertigo and nausea, coupled with an infection within my right nostril. This was followed by 2 large lesions on the side of my tongue, which were quite painful as they rubbed against my teeth. I was also aware of the discomfort caused by compression of my skin, say with socks and shoes. Laying in bed, the back of my heels would feel very sore where they had been pressing down against the bed. All of these symptoms were cast against a backdrop of ever-increasing fatigue within my whole body. I felt as if I was gliding slowly down into a black abyss. Matters came to a head when I developed a chest infection and started to cough up blood. A blood test showed that I was anemic, and an X-ray highlighted problems with my lungs. Fortunately, additional blood tests were analyzed, and a preliminary diagnosis of Wegener's saw me admitted to hospital. In all, just under 4 months from my feeling unwell. The story. I was 56 years old when all of this started and had been very fortunate to enjoy good health all my life. I had been a land surveyor since I left school and enjoyed working outdoors in all sorts of weather. Well, I do live in England. My job gave me a certain level of fitness, and I belonged to a local gym which I attend 3 to 4 times a week. A 20-kilometer bike ride against the clock would be my normal warm-up before I moved on to various machines of torture. Looking back, I feel that my recovery was helped considerably by my good physical condition. The doctors in the hospital were amazed at the rapid improvement in my lungs just after 4 days of treatment, and this gave me a positive uplift. It may be strange to the reader, but one of my overriding feelings at the time was that I was happy to have been finally diagnosed. Yes, the initial words of the administrator who said, "We believe you have Wegener's granulomatosis, and I have to tell you that it's fatal," were rather bizarrely music to my ears. The pain and fatigue that had slowly but surely taken a firm hold on me, coupled with the fear of the unknown and frustration of numerous trips to see various doctors and consultants, had left me at the lowest point in my life. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, and of course we can now look back at the various incidents when perhaps a diagnosis could have been made earlier. I have no recriminations as compared to many others who suffer with this disease. I am very fortunate. But I do spare a thought for those who have struggled for a long time before the correct treatment has finally been administered. I can laugh now when I think of the time I had my varicose veins treated in my legs, or when I had septoplasty because of a deviated septum. Being given painkillers and told to go away and let the virus run its course now seems a ludicrous option. So you can appreciate why when I finally had my diagnosis, I felt relieved. Being told that you have to go immediately into hospital is of course a worrying aspect to take on board. I recall vividly that first sleepless night, being moved from one bed to another as the administration turned into a watching brief. The patient in the next bed was woken every couple of hours so that various tests and samples could be taken. The strange noises that pervade a hospital and the lighting only added to the sleeplessness. The following morning, I was seen by a doctor and things happened quickly. I was told that a hospital in Cambridge called Addenbrooke's had a dedicated vasculitis department that had experience in treating my condition. Little did I realize just how lucky I was that day. They arranged for me to be transferred in an ambulance, and I was wheeled out of a stretcher just as my wife and daughter appeared to hand me a clean set of pajamas, fresh from a large department store in a local town. Excuse me. Well, one must try to keep up appearances. That's so Geoff. The ambulance set off with me, laid out on the stretcher, which was bolted down in the back. We hadn't gone too far when I started to feel very sick. I could blame it on the inner ear infection, but if truth be known, I had always been a bad passenger. I was given a sick bucket, which I effortlessly filled, and I asked if I could sit up on the stretcher. This only allowed me to go another couple of miles before I urgently required the use of the bucket again, and that's how I ended up in the front seat next to the driver, suitably clad in my dressing gown as we tore up towards Cambridge. I was dying to reach up and switch on the siren and flashing lights, but it would have been an abuse of their kindness to me. I just needed to look ahead and see the horizon, I guess. The hospital was massive but welcoming, the tests endless as they checked out my lung capacity and function. A CT scan and more blood tests followed, and then I had my first visit from Dr. Jane, who explained to me exactly what my condition meant. I had 5 treatments of plasma exchange, which I likened to having all the bad boys taken out of my blood. The other analogy I had was that they were Pac-Man giving to racing around my body, munching on all the tasty bits. Sometimes my imagination can run away with me. Being so anemic, I was given 3 blood transfusions towards the end of my stay. In all, I was there for 2 weeks, during which I celebrated my birthday. Being woken by 3 nurses pulling back the screens around my bed at 6:30, singing a chorus or 2 of Happy Birthday to You will live with me forever. As will the handmade cards which they had colored in during their night shift. The whole experience now seems to have a certain dreamlike quality. I was in a special ward, and compared to the other patients, I seemed the least ill. I could get out of bed and pop down to the shops on the main concourse and pick up a daily paper for the other guys on my ward. It might take some time as I struggled to catch my breath, but I was determined to maintain some sense of normality in my life. People with Wegener's don't appear to be ill compared to other patients. And as I looked at the people waiting for transplants, etc., I told myself that I had a lucky escape. As my mom would always tell me, there'll always be someone worse off than you. How right she was. It was only that when I went home that things started to sink in. I struggled to climb the stairs to go to bed and found it impossible to even drive the car a mile. I had to convalesce and was told about 6 months. Due to several reasons, this proved to be a non-starter. Money makes the world go round. And I found myself back at work after 7 weeks. Luckily, my employer adopted a very supportive stance, and I worked half days to start with until I got my strength back. Maybe it was the high steroid dose, but I felt fit to bust and seemed to have bags of energy. I was determined to show that my life was back on course. I set myself personal goals, and the rest of the year seemed to be a succession of tick the boxes as I attempted to prove to myself and my friends that all was well. After my first anniversary, life changed. Remembering to take all the pills was not so much a novelty. My illness was no longer the center of conversation, and I had to adapt to real normality. I was still attending outpatients on a very regular basis, starting weekly and then finally going out to every 2 months. After 18 months, things took a turn for the worse, but as in keeping with the illness, it was a slow, gradual glide into the black abyss again. You really have to listen to your body and be aware of all the subtleties associated with this illness. I ended up, at the end of the year, having my first major flare. I was still able to go to work, but really struggled to keep alert. Most evenings, I would slope off to bed really early, and for most of the weekends, I would have to lay up as my energy levels would be zero. The situation was addressed by a course of cyclophosphamide administered in the outpatients of Addenbrooke's. I would feel sick and nauseous after the treatment and struggle to keep going. Often, I would have to give in and take to my bed. I can freely admit now, it is my favorite place. Looking back, I guess it's easy to say that I tried to carry on normally and ignored the fact that I was suffering from a life-changing illness. I have learned that whatever you try to do, it's only permissible when the Weg's dog allows you. It's the master, and we have to listen when it barks. However, sometimes we can slip a muzzle on it and for a short time pretend we have it under control. I have continued to work full-time, and this year sees my one and only daughter get married. My target has become very focused, and that is to attain a reasonable degree of fitness and try and lose a few pounds of excess weight. I have put on 30 pounds during the steroid treatment and call it vanity, but I want to be able to look at the wedding pictures and concentrate on my beautiful daughter and not flinch at the blob walking down the aisle. I still haven't lost my relief at being diagnosed, because when all's said and done, it has brought about an acute awareness in my life, just exactly what the true worth of things are in our material world and what I need to do to ensure that precious time that I have been given is not wasted. That's Geoff. Thank you, Geoff. This was given to me, I think, in 2011, and now it's 2026. And I haven't, like I said, I haven't really kept in touch with Geoff just because I'm not on social media. But I contacted him recently, and he is doing great. He is getting up at 5:30 every morning, and that's my coffee machine talking. He is going swimming every morning at 5:30, and he's a DJ on a local radio show, and he does it 3 times a week, and he is the most amazing, positive guy you will ever meet. And him and his wife Linda, I hope I will meet Linda in person one day, but they're wonderful people, and I'm glad that he's in my life. As you can see, totally the kind of person you want in your life. So thanks for listening to Geoff's story. I'll be back with more Weggie stories. Weggies are what we call ourselves for short, because Wegener's Granulomatosis. Anyways, have a lovely day, and thanks for listening to another Weggie story. Bye.